It might have really interesting implications. We will have to see, but it'll definitely be interesting to see next year's class if it's also big. I mean, they're going to have to do something. It's just too many kids. Okay, so anyway, as part of my first day, it's just first day stuff. I am on a very tight schedule. So, because they had all these extra assemblies in the morning and things like that. So let's see if we can do chapter 9 today. What are you doing? Okay. Hopefully that is fine now. Just did something weird. Um, God, computer's being so crabby today. Okay, so this is our last chapter of Amos, and arguably, at least in the beginning, is the most forceful. So it can be separated into two parts. The first part of this chapter is like prophecies of doom. And then the second part is like glimmers of hope, right? Not more than glimmers. So let's see what happens. So, Ra'iti et Adonai nitzav al hamizbech, vayomer, hacha kaftor, vayirashu hasifim, uvetzam, excuse me, berosh kulam, ve'acharitam bacherev eherog, lo yanus lahem nas, lo yimalet lahem palit. So I observed my sovereign standing by the altar and saying, right? So here's what God is saying: strike the capitals so that the thresholds quake, and make an end of the first of them all. And I will slay the last of them with the sword. Not one of them shall escape, and not one of them shall survive. So the second half is easier to understand, right? It's pretty clear. God's
Right.
going to kill all of them. No one's going to survive. The question is, what exactly is this first half referring to, right? Strike the capital so that the thresholds quake. It seems to be some kind of reference to the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, right? So that what God, the reason I said this is like the harshest is that God is clearly this prophecy is of God commanding the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, right? As opposed to someone else doing it or arguing that it was, the other nations or what have you. Do the footnotes generally agree with that take?
I think some of us may have a different translation.
Yeah.
Strike the lintel, and the side posts shall quake and break to pieces those who are at the head of all of them. So,
Yes. Okay, great.
yeah.
Yeah. Depends how we understand part of it.
Right. And then their remnant I will slay by the sword, and no one can flee. That's sort of similar, but it sounds like instead capitals, is that like a building term?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like those pillars or whatever they are.
Okay.
hmm
So then it should be
Yes?
really similar.
Um,
No. Well, sort of.
we have
She
a footnote also
if
that
she's not, she's coming back. Sorry.
we have a footnote that
Mhm.
says God commanded an angel to strike at the temple building and the leaders of the people.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, great. So leaders, right. So it's the language is definitely in the middle with dealing with Rosh Kulam, right? Does that mean the leaders, the heads, it's not clear. As the JPS here footnote points out, right, that meaning of Hebrew uncertain.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, again, I think that the point here is that this is something coming from God, right? Excuse me. Whew. Okay. Im yachteru b'shaol misham yadi tikachem ve'im ya'alu hashamayim misham oridem. If they burrow down to Sheol, from there my hand shall take them, and if they ascend to heaven, from there I will bring them down. So what we'll see from this and then the following verses is what God is saying is that if they try to hide, I'm going to find them. And actually, I should have looked up the title because now, of course, that I'm on the spot, I'm blinking. That book about the bunny rabbit saying to the baby, "I am your mom," and if you run out, like, and the baby bunny
The
says,
runaway bunny.
yeah, Runaway Bunny, thank you, right? And if
Yeah.
you become a ship, then I will be the wind or that blows you, whatever. I don't know why, but that's like the what came to mind when reading these is like obviously here it's not intended as a positive thing, right? But wherever you go, like I'll be there too to bring you back. Um, Okay, so that's now down to Sheol or Ya'alu Hashamayim. It seems to be that this is not referencing the next world. This is referencing this world, right? Literal running. So it's interesting that this is what is chosen. My guy says, Yachperu b'ma'makei ha'aretz. So it just literally means they're going to be digging in the depths of the ground, right? Like digging under valleys to try to hide. Yeah, in order to make sense of that. And then it continues, Ve'im yichav'u berosh ha'karmel misham achapes ulekachtim ve'im yisatru mineged einai bekarka hayam misham atzaveh et hanachash uneshacham. If they hide on top of Carmel, there I will search them out and seize them. And if they conceal themselves from my sight at the bottom of the sea, there I will command the serpent to bite them. So Carmel also possible references to the story of Eliyahu, right? Meaning like the beginning of prophecy, right? And now this is going to be possibly the end. So I heard that argued as a possible thing. Hmm. My guy makes one interesting point, which is that the Nachash, the serpent, is discussed as being at the bottom of the sea, and actually in Israel, there are no serpents that live at the bottom on the ocean floor or sea floor, I guess. So maybe it means something else. Anyone have anything noteworthy on this? Hmm. Okay. Alrighty. So ואם ילכו בשבי לפני אויביהם, משם אצווה את החרב והרגתם, ושמתי עיני עליהם לרעה ולא לטובה. And if they go into captivity before their enemies, there I will command there I will command the sword to slay them. I will fix my eye on them for evil and not for good. So that's also really ugly, right? Even if you go into captivity, I'm going to command that you be killed is pretty bad. Yeah. All right. So ve'Hashem Elokim hatzvakot hanogea ba'aretz ve'tamog ve'avlu kol yoshvei ve'alta keyaor kula ushak'a keyaor Mitzrayim. All right, it is the sovereign God of hosts at whose touch the earth trembles, and all who dwell on it mourn, and all of it swells like the Nile and subsides like the Nile of Egypt. Anything? Okay. Haboneh bashamayim alota ve'agudato al eretz yisada hakore lemei hayam ve'yishbichem al pnei haaretz Hashem shemo. Who built the chambers in heaven and founded the vault on earth, who summons the waters of the sea and pours them over the land, whose name is God. So, this I think this all just really comes to reinforce the ultimate point that God is the sovereign God who controls the highest points and the lowest points, and there's nowhere to hide, and God will find you anywhere, and God also is committed to your destruction. Not great, right? It's not great. Again, if you have anything like on the particular words, please jump in. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it other than like the meta points. Now we get to verse 7. Verse 7, it's very interesting thinking about how to interpret it in that meaning, is this a compliment or is this an insult? So, and I'm super curious to know what your books have to say. So, Halo kivnei kushiyim atem li b'nei Yisrael neum Hashem. Halo et Yisrael ha'eleti me'eretz Mitzrayim uflishtim mikaftor ve'aram mikir. Okay. So to me, O Israelites, you are just like the Cushites, declares God. Really, I think the English should be, are you not like the Cushites to me? right? Oh, Israel. Maybe you have that as a
Yeah,
translation.
that's our trend. Are you not like
Okay, great.
the children of the Cushites to me?
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So true, I brought Israel, or did I really, like, again, did I not bring Israel up from the land of Egypt, but also the Philistines from Kaftor and the Arameans from Kir? So the question is here, is God insulting the people by saying, oh, you're just like the Cushites to me? Or is God saying, but you, even you guys are like the Cushites to me, right? Does God think positively about the Cushites or negatively about the Cushites, right? Because we need to know that if we're going to understand what the point of comparison is.
This sort of goes against the whole, I took you out of Egypt. What other nation was ever taken from one nation in the midst
Mm,
to
mm,
be
mm,
to be
mm,
like
mm.
for us to be me to be your God, you know? So like this is the exact opposite
Oh, very
I
interesting.
heard before.
Very, very interesting. Yeah.
Um, we have a footnote also. I liberated you from Egypt to become my servants. Now that you have rebelled, you are no better than other nations.
Meaning, so Cushite is an insult here.
Yes,
Okay. Do your sources agree with that? I mean, my guy basically agrees with it that it's an insult.
I would think so.
Okay. So the one argument that you would make that it's not an insult, it's a statement of endearment, is that I taught this past semester of my high schoolers is, Cush is mentioned that Moshe marries Isha Cushite, right? And that's what Miriam and Aaron talk about him, and therefore that leads to Miriam getting Zerad. And so, of course, the question is, who on what Moshe marries a Cushite? What is going on here? What are we talking about? And there's disagreements. Is that a way of referring to Moshe's wife Zipporah, or is it someone else? Are these Cushites good people? Are they bad people? Um, it's totally up for debate. The one thing I will share is that I found really interesting when we did the material is that I was researching Kush and I did not realize. So Kush, the ancient people of Kush, the land is now currently Sudan, which means it's hard to study history there, right? For obvious reasons, it's underfunded, it's not always safe, etc. But Kush were really the dominant empire in certain points of ancient history in Africa, more so even than Egypt. And there was actually archaeological evidence that in ancient Egypt, and this corresponds roughly to the enslavement, when the enslavement of the Israelites would have been, that Egypt actually built barriers, something it had to do with the Nile, that would help prevent Kushite invasion. So even the Egyptians, of course, whom we think of as being like the strong oppressor, were afraid of Cush. And so bringing that back to Moshe's wife and now here, I see that as, the Torah is sort of slipping in there or in the imagination, whatever, that Moshe married a princess or a woman from the strongest nation anyone knew of at that time. I mean, for all we know, the Israelites were building these structures to prevent the Kushite invasion in ancient Egypt. Now, this is much later, right? Of course, centuries and centuries later. So would it have that same reference? I don't know. But I just, wanted to present that as a possibility for why we talk about the Kushites in the Bible.
Well, it's also it's mentioned in the book of Esther, and
Right.
me hodu ad Cush,
Yeah.
that
hmm
Ahasuerus was the emperor of all that huge territory.
Yeah. And Cush, right. And it's like the son of Ham, who's not the good son. So it's like generally not the best association, but also, of course, there's some, racism there, darker skinned and, all the things. So it's complicated to say, are they like the Kushites or not? Probably negative, but the jury is still out on that.
I remember years ago when I was a student in Israel, where they referred to um, people, black students um, from I think from Ethiopia. They referred to them as Kushiyim.
hmm Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Now, um, now we switch to a little bit of good. הנה עיני השם אלוקים בממלכה החטאה והשמדתי אותה מעל פני האדמה אפס כי לא אשמיד את בית יעקב נאום Hashem. So behold, my sovereign God is keeping an eye on the sinful kingdom. I will wipe it off the face of the earth. But, right, I will not wholly wipe out the house of Jacob, declares God, right? Efes ki lo hashmid eshmid, right? It won't be 100% destroyed. So our words of positivity or comfort are be completely wiped off the map, right? A little bit will survive. How? כי הנה אנוכי מצווה והניאותי בכל הגויים את בית ישראל כאשר ינוע בכברה, excuse me, ולא ייפול צרור הארץ. For I will give the order and shake the house of Israel through all the nations as one shakes sand in a sieve, and not a pebble falls to the ground. Excuse me. Any comments on or footnotes on what exactly that's trying to accomplish? Okay. Um, sorry. All right. Okay. בחרב ימותו כל חטאי עמי האומרים לא תגיש ותקדים בעדנו הרעה. All the sinners of my people shall perish by the sword, who boast, never shall the evil overtake us or come near us. Right? Everyone who thought that you were untouchable, nope. Those are going to be the people who are destroyed. But then, so that is like, it's kind of bouncing between like bad and good, right? That sounds pretty bad. But now in 11, Bayom Hahu, Akim et Sukat David Hanofelet, Vegadarti et Pirtehen, Vasirotav, Akim Uvnitiha, Kime Olam. So this is an expression some of us will recognize. In that day, I will set up again the fallen booth of David. I will mend its breaches and set up its ruins anew. I will build it firm as in the days of old. Right. So I don't love this translation because it's I will Akim et Sukat David Hanofeled. I will once again raise up the fallen sukkah of David. Right? Was that more akin to what translations you have?
Well, they do say the fallen booth of David, which is basically the same thing. So,
Oh, they
uh,
do. All right.
We have tabernacle of David.
Interesting. Okay.
um,
Right. So there's the
they
question.
have, I think, a nice footnote right before it in the passage, the two patch lines before it, the 9 and 10.
Mhm.
Just as large items do not fall through the sieve, so the house of Israel, though they will be shaken from place to place, will never fall to the ground completely. The sinners, however, will perish.
Okay, great.
So there's also a footnote on, I guess it's 9, something like
Mhm.
that, or maybe it's 10. Let's see where to go. We have my command as yeah, it's 10. That since he stated previously that the kingdom of Ephraim would fall, he now states that in contrast, the kingdom of David would be raised up. It's symbolized by the tabernacle because it affords shelter to the people. And that's from Radak.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, the choice of sukkah is interesting, right? Like, what is the sukkah of David? Don't we mean the Beit HaMikdash of Shlomo, right? Like, what are we talking about here? I've seen different explanations. One is that a sukkah is kind of designed to be taken down and put back up again, right? Um, so it's not something miraculous in that sense that has to happen, and maybe it's just also that our people cycle and sometimes we're down and sometimes we're up. Um, But it's something that feels it's more rudimentary. It's not a building, but maybe there's also something positive about that as
But
well.
you can travel with it.
Right, exactly, right.
Yeah.
Travel with it to Galut, right? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like a realistic promise of rehabilitation, right? As opposed to like a fantasy one.
No, I mean, that, and in other words, you don't have the temple anymore, but
But
you
right.
can, you carry it with you in that sense.
Right, it's like a vestige, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of a continuation, right, of that God says, I'll build it up. Lema'an yirshu et she'erit Edom v'chol hagoyim asher nikra shmi alehem ne'um Hashem osei zot. So that they shall possess the rest of Edom and all the nations once attached to my name, declares God, who will bring this to pass. Kol hagoyim asher nikra shmi alehem, attached to my name. Do you have a different translation? Like called by my name?
Um,
yeah.
right.
In order they inherit the remnant of Edom and all the nations, because my name is called upon them, said the Lord.
Okay. Yeah. Much more literal. Okay.
Why
Great.
is it attached? It doesn't make any
I
sense.
don't know. Yeah, what did I don't know. Yeah. It seems so obviously that it's called by name, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah, it's not really debatable. All right. So God will restore us, and also not just that we will survive, but we will possess the land that is once inhabited by other nations. הנה ימים באים נאום השם וניגש חורש בקוצר ודורך ענבים במושך הזרע והטיפו ההרים עסיס וכל הגבעות תתמוגגנה. All right, third time. A time is coming, declares God, when the plower shall meet the reaper. And the treader of grapes, the one who holds the bag of seed, when the mountains shall drip wine and all the hills shall wave with grain, right? I mean, such incredible abundance. And what will happen then? V'shafti et shavut ami Yisrael uvanu arim nishamot v'yashavu v'nat'u chramim v'shatu et yenam v'asu ganot v'achlu et prehem. I will restore my people Israel. They shall, I don't restore. Do you have a word different than restore? Do you have return?
Return.
Yeah, I like return better because it's like shav, return. They shall rebuild ruined cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink their wine, and they shall till gardens and eat their fruit. Do you have also rebuild ruined cities, or do you have a different translation?
Rebuild desolate cities and inhabit them.
Okay. All right. Yeah, my guy says nishamot is from the word shamam, desolate or destroyed, not nishama, soul. Okay. So, I mean, it's just, it's beautiful. I love that the images are of eating and drinking and just, it's very like basic abundance. Last pasuk of the book, unetatim al admatam velo yinachu od me al admatam asher natati lahem amar Hashem Elokecha. And I will plant them upon their soil, never more to be uprooted from the soil I have given them, said the eternal your God. Right. I love that it keeps the image. It's, it's the grapes growing, it's the wheat in the ground, and then it's also us, right? That we're always going to be there and will never be removed. I think it's just it's nice. And also it goes back to one of the bigger things that we've appreciated about Amos, which is just that it's like so much simpler language, it doesn't have to go to these grand extremes and use obscure words and all fanciful images and all these things. It's just very basic, right? But there's something very beautiful about that.
Well, it also ends on a very hopeful note.
Yeah.
Um, so that they're never again going to be uprooted for the land they've been given.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like whatever their sins were, God is now restoring them to their land and saying you're not going to be uprooted or scattered again. So it's a very hopeful,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it would seem to me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely.
Well, they really covered both extremes in this chapter.
I know. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
My
yeah.
knees are knocking. I'm scared, and now it's like, oh, it's all wonderful.
And I can't remember if it was Isaiah or Yirmiyahu. I don't remember which book, but also like the biggest comfort God could offer us was a couple of you will survive. It was like that was the good note, right?
Yeah.
It was like, oh
Oh,
God.
it's closer to the truth, honestly, than sense.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's raises like, I mean, especially post-Holocaust, right? Like, is it a
Yeah.
comfort that, a few thousand people survived? And I mean, then you look in 2 generations later, they have 100 grandkids, those like crazy stories. Um, but is that a source of comfort? You know, would that
I
have meant
think the
anything to
worst,
anyone in Auschwitz? Hmm?
sorry, I
Go
think
ahead.
the worst prophecy is that there will be a tenth remaining.
Mm,
Uh, but God didn't promise that. It sounds Ve'od ba'asiriya. I think it's either Isaiah or Ezekiel, but they're basically saying that even if only 10% remain, we should be, still, trained in our beliefs and not leave them just because only 10% are left. That I think that's how I always understood it.
And we
yeah.
started off with 70 people going down to Egypt.
True. Yeah, it's true.
So I don't know if it's a comfort so much as survival. Like this is
Yeah.
it's a higher purpose than just comfort. It's we're
Yeah.
surviving as a people, and that's what matters.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's right. It's not about the individual. The individual finds no
Mhm,
comfort in this,
mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great point. That's a beautiful way of articulating it. Yeah.
And it also reinforces our tie to the land.
I was thinking that too. Yeah. Yeah. It's very land focused. Literally, you will be planted, right?
Mhm,
Yeah. 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 I say overall, this book gets high ratings from me. I hope you feel that way also.
It's accessible intellectually and spiritually,
I
which
know.
some of the
I know.
others were not.
I know. I really appreciate that so much. Okay, so the plan is next week is Ovadia, which is just one chapter. So I haven't looked at it in great detail. I'm assuming one chapter, one session, but we'll see. And then Rav Yosef and I were talking about perhaps returning to some of the ones that are connected, like read on the high holidays and things like that. So we'll look at this. I haven't looked in full at the Chagim schedule and how many classes. My brain is mush today because it's just nonstop. So
So are you
I'll look at a
suggest
calendar and we'll make sense of what's coming,
are you
basically.
suggesting that like we'll do something for like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and then
Right. So
maybe
we'll have to look at it because Ovadia would be next, and then Yona is after that.
Mhm.
Interestingly. Right. So, and of course, that's off Torah, Mincha, and Yom Kippur. So we have to, honestly, I have to look back at the calendar. My brain is too mush right now to think about how many sessions we have before the holidays. But we'll make sure. Yeah, I think there's definitely a way to overlap them for sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry today is so rushed. I'm just gonna go run off and fill
Ruth,
up my water bottle before
I'm
class.
just thankful that you had class today. That was
Yeah,
very
thank you
exactly.
so
generous of
much.
Yeah, well,
you
I
to
didn't
do
want to,
that.
I know. I mean, I didn't want to, it was long enough that we waited. I apologize for all the back and forth with August. It ended up being a lovely visit with my family and my sisters were there and all
Good.
that. It just,
That's great.
drive. We stopped each way in Cleveland, overnight for the drive.
Ah,
So that's why I didn't know if we'd be back Tuesday or not. So we did
okay.
stop in Cleveland
And,
because
and the kids were okay with the whole
yeah,
travel.
the only time Evie had a hard time was on the second day of the way there. And that's because we just left in a hotel. I realized she didn't understand what was happening. She like wanted to go home and see Bubby. She didn't understand what it meant that we were going to Softon Grandpa's house. But as soon as we got there, she's like, oh, okay. And then she was fine. So yeah,
Very
that's
nice.
what happens. Okay, have a
That's
wonderful
all.
week, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
All
Thank
right, see you
you.
soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.